Word in Your Attic, a Zoom with a View.
So here we are. Welcome to another Word in Your Attic. We're delighted to be joined by Charlie Dore. Good morning, Charlie.
Tremendous.
Morning. Good
Welcome.
morning.
It looks like a very nice place you have there. Where do we find you?
Well, you find me in deepest Berkshire, and this is I'm not in a conservatory. I'm in my kitchen. I'm one end of the kitchen. I'm sitting at one end of the kitchen table because
Right.
This is where the Wi-Fi is best.
Of course.
It looks like you're in a Kew Gardens hothouse. It's fantastic.
Well, all these plants are really old, actually. They all have a history. I won't go into that, but they do actually. And I haven't actually killed them yet.
A separate podcast. Charlie Dore and her plants.
So listen, we're just talking about stages that were particularly hazardous to play on. And you're talking about the rock garden and Dingwalls, because they had pillars in the middle of the stage. What were the other ones you remember that were particularly hard?
Well, there was, and of course the Hope and Anchor.
Right.
Which was, it wasn't so much that was hard to play, but it wasn't very, I mean, if you were a band, and there was several of you, the dressing room, as they called it, wasn't really a dressing room. It was just that it was to the left of the stage as you looked at the stage.
Yeah.
And it was just full of drum cases and guitar cases.
And fantastic graffiti, didn't it? The Hope and Anchor dressing room.
That's right. Yes,
remember that little tiny room with every punk band would put their name on the wall.
Yes,
slogan.
That's right. Yes, I'd forgotten that. I did an interview with Melvin Bragg in there, and because they were doing a feature on English country music, and it was so crowded in there. We had to sit knee to knee, and it was one of those things where it was. I'd never met him before, and he's an extremely
powerful effect on women.
What? Oh, hush now. But anyway,
is it hot in here?
We had to sit sort of knee to knee, and it was a bit, it was just a bit too close for both.
A bit too intimate. Yeah. I can imagine.
And I felt, and he asked me these very, very long, rambling, intelligent, thought-out questions, and I kind of lost the gist of it. By about the third sentence in.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to look stupid, basically.
Last time I saw Charlie was you're on stage at the Green Note in Camden Parkway,
Yes.
which is for those who haven't been there, it's kind of vegetarian restaurant, isn't it? Really, they just has a small stage, a really small stage.
70 capacity, isn't it? 70 people.
The stage is so small that if you have a band, I think you had some musicians with you there that night, you have to kind of stand in single file.
Well,
You kind of look like an Indian statue. You know what I mean? The bass player peeking out from behind you. Is that fair to say?
well, yes, actually, although they have increased, they've increased the front of the stage now.
Oh,
I see. Which is much, much easier. But the gig that you came to, David, it was still had the smaller stage.
Right.
And we had a bass player and Julian Littman, my pal. And you're right. We had to stand like in a bus queue, really, because
Just like in a bus queue. Wasn't the
I love that venue. I still love that venue.
No, it's a very nice place. It's a very nice place. So how are you getting on during lockdown? You were supposed to be playing at this point, were you?
Yes. We had a lot of dates lined up because I foolishly or otherwise put out my 10th album on the 19th of June.
All right.
And we thought we'd sort of carry on with it anyway. And so yes, there was going to be a lovely launch at King's Place with full band and all the guests. We'd managed to lasso all the guests.
Oh God,
that
must be very disappointing.
It's heartbreaking.
Well, it's it's the same for everybody, of course, but we have actually transposed it to next June.
Right. Okay. So it's all going to be fine then. I'm sure you're right. So have you got any items to do our normal show and tell, Charlie?
Yes.
What have you lined up for us?
Well, I haven't done them in any particular order, although the first one is definitely the earliest.
Right.
And the first one is a piece written by my mother, Betty, when she was 6 years old, and she was a bit of a prodigy, really. She used to play standing up at the piano because when she sat on the stool, she couldn't reach the pedals. And she was a very clever little girl, very naughty little girl, apparently. So this is the piece of music. But it was actually, I don't know if she wrote music herself. She probably did, but probably not very neatly. And so her mother wrote this out for her. It's called Cradle Song.
Fantastic.
What year are we talking here, John?
We're talking 19. Yes, it is the 1900s. It is 1924.
All right. Wow.
And she sent it in to the British. This is what looks so great. She sent it in to the British Broadcasting Corporation, as it was called then properly. Sort of submitted it to one of the children's presenters, one of the uncles.
Oh, Uncle Mac and all those.
Well, okay. Yes, this must have been even pre-Uncle Mac,
Right, yeah.
But yes, there were, uncle type figures, the good uncles,
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And this is one she sent. I can't quite read his name, but I think it is Uncle. Well, maybe you can make it out. Anyway, it definitely says Uncle. But she wrote to him, and he wrote her this letter. Which is with the
wow. Now that is actually, this is funny. You should hold that up because we were talking about this with Bruce the other day, who'd written the book about Shallick. And it wasn't the British Broadcasting Corporation. It was the British Broadcasting Company, as you can see there.
Yes.
On that letterhead. Yes. That was what they originally called.
Amazing.
So read us out what that says, Charlie. We can't see that.
It says, "My dear Betty."
Can you read it out?
Yeah.
Yes. It says, "My dear Betty, thank you so much for your letter and the composition which you so kindly sent me. You show great promise, and I feel sure that as soon as you have mastered some of the horrible technicalities of the writing of music, you will be a great composer. With love from Uncle Squiggle."
Very good, very good.
And she was how old? 6? Is that right?
6.
Amazing.
I say it can't help but have the tone of having come from Her Majesty the Queen, can it? That letter. It's. I feel sure. Yeah. It's very Christmas message, expression, isn't it? I feel sure in the fast. If you attend to your studies, you'll be a fine composer. Well, it's brilliant that you've kept that. Are you a keeper of stuff? Are you a hoarder of stuff?
Well, I am. I am a bit of a hoarder. As I found when I was looking through something to show and tell with you.
Yeah.
And yes, it's some of it, of course, is a complete surprise when you discover it, if you are a real hoarder. But others of it, I know I keep. Actually, I've got the envelope as well, which if you look at the address, because she lived in Muswell Hill.
Oh, really? What's the address? Go on.
The address is 44 Dukes Avenue.
Oh, okay, I know Dukes Avenue.
And Muswell Hill, and it just says north. It doesn't even bother with an NZ.
3 postcodes. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's
Terrific.
Brilliant that you kept that. What else you got there?
Well, I've got, no, hang on. Just a second. I have, yes, this is Real Things. And I searched for this yesterday because, I do keep some old equipment as well.
Right.
And this is what I wrote my first cover version on.
Oh, wow. So go on, what's that then?
It's Casio, an old Casio keyboard, isn't it? What were they called, those things? Do they have a name?
Yes, it's called the Casio Electronic Musical Instrument. As if you didn't know it was such a thing. And it had it had all these, you know, different settings on it. It has, well, electric piano, obviously, banjo. That's a matter of opinion, really.
Yeah, no, sure. Can't
Banjo.
You're going to have to give us a demonstration.
Does it work?
Play a bit.
I hoped to. I'm really sorry about this. I hoped to, but when I took the back off, there were 6 enormous batteries in there.
Yes, I bet. Rusted within an inch of the life.
No longer replaceable. Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, actually, I got frightened then, and I looked up on the net. How dangerous are 30-year-old batteries?
Yeah, I don't think they're not that bad. It's not like grenades or anything like that. So,
not like asbestos.
Okay. So when would you have had that? When
I bought it in 1981.
Right. And what did you write on it?
I wrote my first cover hit, which was a song called Strut, which won't mean anything at all in this country, because it was, if it was released, I can't even remember if it was by Sheena Easton.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And she had a number 4 with it in the States.
Oh, right. Well, very good.
But and it was weird, because it was really like it was happening to someone else, not me, you know, because I wasn't there to you know, experience it. I just got reports. And you know, things like this week you are racked in Denver. You know,
always good to know if you're racked in Denver. Sounds like a Warren Zevon song. I was racked in Denver.
Yes, it does sound like that, doesn't it?
But you've kept it even with its rusting batteries in the back.
Well,
you've kept it for.
There is an electricity thing at the back, but I wasn't sure what the voltage was.
Let's not fuse Berkshire. I wouldn't want to be responsible for that. That's brilliant. What have you got? What else you got?
Well, to go with that, I've got to go with the same era. I bought also at the same time in LA.
Right.
The Pig Nose.
Oh, lovely! Those beautiful little amplifiers. They're fantastic.
So go on, I'm no musician. Explain that to me.
It makes a particular raw sound, doesn't it?
Yes, and it's got, it opens and it has batteries in there.
Oh, wow.
And that's its little speaker.
Oh, so it's battery driven.
It's portable, yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very portable. And again, this has some very ancient batteries in. So I bought that at the same time. And then I also bought this to go with it. And I still use this. This is Dr. Beat, and it's a metronome. You know, it's a.
Oh, I can.
Yeah.
And you get, if you're a bit of a jazzer. But I actually find that useful sometimes for just sort of initially figuring out a tempo or something. You know, it's you don't have to go online. It's just you just press a button.
Yeah.
I still like that.
Do you write with other people, presumably, as well as on your own?
Yes, I do. I write a lot with Julian Lippman. You know, I've known Julian since we were at college together.
You're on the Rainbow Kids TV program, weren't you?
Yes,
all the way back to that.
Yes. Yes, that's right. That was my first job in television. In fact, I think I've got a picture of us looking very squeaky clean, which I can.
Oh, let's have a look. Go on.
Go on.
I've just. I can just go here. Oh yes, here we are. This is. We also worked with Carl Johnson, who's an actor. And Carl is in everything, basically.
Oh, yeah, I know Carl
Yes,
Johnson.
he's a wonderful actor.
Yeah.
And that's us.
Oh, that's lovely.
Oh, wow. So when was that taken?
Judging by the trousers, that would have been about 1974.
Very good guess. Yes, I think it was. I think it was 1 year earlier, because 73, 74, yeah, ish. we're all wearing our emergency flares, of course.
Right.
And that was a photograph taken by Peter Simkin. And there's also another photograph he took of us watching ourselves live on television, you know, because we turned it on when we were there at his house for the session. It was rainbow time, you know, which was about 12:10 noon. And
do you meet people who remember watching you when they were small children?
Yes, I do actually, and sometimes they would find something familiar about me. You know, if they didn't know me from my sort of current incarnation as a musician or whatever, they would kind of look at me like, "Do I know you? Do I?"
Right.
You seem familiar, and then you know they figure, "Oh, I know what it was," and that was my a really good training for songwriting because we had to write 3 songs a week for that.
Oh, I see. Yes, you were
Brilliant.
turning things around quickly. Yeah, you
Very
had to do
quickly,
that.
yes.
Yeah, you had to do that.
That's why we only stayed 18 months because we all found it.
You were worn out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were actors basically.
Yeah.
Can we very briefly ask you the story of George Harrison covering one of your songs? Because you went to his house, didn't you? And he was there playing the guitar and played one of your songs. Then you discovered there's a recording of it later on.
Yes, that's right. That was a complete surprise. I mean, I knew he knew it. I met him through my friend Eric Idle, and they were really, really good friends. And Eric plays guitar a lot. You know, he's very musical. He's a good guitar player actually. He knew a lot of my early songs, and he played that to George. And so George knew it, and I did hear him play it one time when I was there in the summer, and he just sat in the garden and started playing it. And I mean, I've told this story before because it was a moment for me.
Absolutely, it would be.
Incredible moment. Sit there as a member of the Beatles play one of your songs. You'd want to turn to other people and say, "Do you realise this is, you know?"
I did, but I was
actual.
Yes, I did. I was the least famous person, you know, there. So, but it was no big deal to anybody else, you know. But it was to me. Yes, you're exactly right. I did want to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
You would do. What else you got there?
What else have I got? I have here. Oh yes, I have a letter from Elmore Leonard.
Oh, the thriller writer.
Yes, he wrote I sort of count that there's an album called Sleep All Day, which I count as really like my first album when I just did what I wanted to do. And I wasn't trying to write a hit anymore or get on the radio or do any of that, you know. On that record, I decided to try and do a song, a story song, sort of like Bob Dylan would do. I'd been given, my other half Tom had given me Maximum Bob by Elmore Leonard, which is a brilliant story about bungling ineptitude of criminals, basically, and a very, very right-wing judge called Maximum Bob. A friend of mine said, if you want to use that, he made a documentary with Elmore Leonard, and he said you should check, you know, even though you're not actually using his words, it is his story. If he's litigious, you might get into trouble. So I was given an address and I wrote and asked permission. Meanwhile, the album was going ahead and it was going to manufacture, basically.
Oh, God.
And we had no permission. There was absolute silence. And we were thinking, oh, God, you know, what should we do?
This could be painful.
It could be very painful and expensive. And we had literally just said, look, and we pressed go for the whole manufacture thing. So there it was. We just very, very nervous. And then I got this letter from him, which is typewritten. Here, there's his signature there.
Yeah.
But it's brilliant because it says, Dear Charlie, I'm so sorry I didn't listen to Maximum Bob set to music right away. I would have told you, yes, please, include it in your new album. I would be honoured. But in May, when the CD arrived, I was racing to finish my 40th book, The Hot Kid.
40.
The Hot Kid, and thought I would reach the end of it at least sometime in July, but didn't finish until October the 7th. I love it and hope I'm not too late getting back to you with my approval.
What a great thing to have. It's brilliant.
Is he still with us?
No, he died maybe about 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh, okay. Right.
I wish I met him.
Elmore Leonard had somewhere, he wrote his 7 rules for writers, didn't he? One of those things. And I think his first rule was you never use, when a character says something, you never use any other word than says.
That's right. Yeah, you don't use opined.
Don't say muttered or opined or declared or
Yes.
any of those things, just said.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. It's really, really good advice.
It's really
It is, because it always looks unnecessary and pretentious, doesn't it?
Yeah. As soon as somebody said that, it looks really florid. If you write anything other than said,
Yeah.
Yes.
as soon as somebody's pointed that out to you, I really like all that stuff. I like technical advice from people. Whether you agree with it or not is neither here nor there. You know what I mean?
It's very generous, isn't it? And actually, there was anyway, when he was alive, Greg Sutter, his researcher, he kind of ran a site where you could, I think it was a sort of Write Like Elmore site, and people could send in ideas and things, and I think they'd get some feedback.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about his work, is that it was just like reading a plot to a movie, basically.
Yeah,
he didn't show off his style.
No,
He wasn't.
Yeah, he probably wanted them to be movies. That's probably why he wrote them like that. What else you got there, Charlie?
What else have I got? I have. Hang on. Yes. Oh, yes. Well, I did spend quite a lot of my time and energy in the early 90s as part of a comedy improvisation group. And we were called Dogs on Holiday initially, and we became the Hurricane Club because that was the name of our comedy improv club. And I kind of had I put my hand up and sort of got the job of booking the comedians, because what we did in those days was, because remember Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
We were a group who did that basically. And we found ourselves a venue above what used to be the Black Horse in Rathbone Place.
Right.
And for nothing. They didn't charge us for it because they were grateful for the bar takings.
Yeah.
And
You had Joe Brand and you and Mark Lamar, Harry Hill. I remember. Yes.
This is one of the What's Honorary things. If you can see.
All right.
Yeah.
You're going to have to read us out some of
Okay.
the
Read out a few names.
Yeah.
Okay. This is
Mark Steele, Harry Hill.
Yes, Steve Bowditch, Ian McPherson, Phil Davey, Mark Steele, Terry Rogers. Remember the woman who dressed up with a foul-mouthed puppet?
Oh, right. Yes.
Yes.
There have been so many of them.
Which one?
She was brilliant. And she would say to him, she wore a tiara and everything, an evening dress, and she'd come and she'd say, "Ladies and gentlemen, so pleased to be with you tonight." And he'd say, "Glad to be out," and she'd say, and then she'd say, "I would please try not to swear," and he'd go, "Oh God," and then she'd say, "I tell you what, I'll give you 50 pence. Oh no, £1. I'll give you £1 for every time you want to swear and you don't." And he said, £1, a fucking pound. I've got better words than that. But the interesting thing about her was, after she died, Gary Spinks, who is this is our group. This is the comedy group.
Right.
He sent me an obituary which said that she was actually a man. And she was one of the first sex changes. She actually had been Terry, I suppose, Terry Rogers.
Right.
And but she since the I think since the late 60s, she had actually been a man.
So she took that secret to her grave. Is that fair to say?
Well,
As far as you were concerned.
Absolutely, yes, and she was really good.
Yeah, yeah.
So yes, that was, and I used to have the job of booking all those comedians, because what we did, what I meant to say earlier, was that because we were nervous when we started of whether we could fill the place, we thought we'd better have a proper comedian on after us, in case we're rubbish.
In case we're not.
We're improvising.
Yeah.
and many times we were. No, we had some great nights. But we had, so the evening would be, we did a couple of sets, and then we would have a couple of comedians. And it was my job to book them. And I remember booking people like Mark Lamar. I've got little diaries with all their home numbers in, because they used to come, we used to do it direct with them. They didn't go through their agents, because they were earning, 60 quid or maybe 40 or 60 quid, cash.
Yeah.
No questions asked. So they'd say, don't go through my agent. And I remember, calling people like Mark Lamar, and his answer machine message was, I'm out. That was it.
Helpful.
Yes, well, can't argue with that.
He was actually, when he did our show one time, we through inexperience, we opened on a bank holiday Saturday, and we learnt later that's not a good idea. And the place was absolutely empty. So Matilda Thorpe, who was the other actress in the group with me, we went downstairs to the bar at the Black Horse and just said to people, "Do you want to come to a show upstairs?"
Yeah, yeah.
We reduced the price, half price, 2 for 1, and there was a bunch of guys in there drinking, and they was like, "Yeah, well, how much?" And we said, "Well, 2 for 1," and they said, "Nah." And we said, "You can all come in for a tenner." Because we were there, we thought we might as well do a show. And so they were from the sorting office over the road in Russia.
Oh, yes, I know it well. Yeah. I know it well.
So they all came and sat in there. And our comedian that night was Mark Lamar. And as soon as he came in, he went, "Hello, are you lot together?" And they went, "Yes." And he said, "Well, where are you from?" And they said, "We're from the sorting office." And so he changed his entire set and did his whole set about being a postman.
It's a rich subject.
That's an astonishing thing. Presumably he'd been a postman at some stage.
Well, I don't know. But he was very fast.
Everybody's been a postman at some stage. Surely, of a certain age, we've all been postmen.
Have you?
I have. I've done the Christmas post and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Really?
I observe postmen a lot. I've got a very good relationship with our postman. We depend on the postman. We all know about postmen. We all got jokes about postmen. Postmen are woven into the national fabric, aren't they? Surely they are. No, I think
Alan Johnson, the former politician, wrote an entire book about being a postman.
Yeah, please, Mr. Postman.
Please, Mr. Postman.
Yeah, we all see the postman every single day.
Yeah.
In fact, there is no other job that you come into such regular contact with as a postman. I don't think. Surely, they can't be.
Was it? Tell me, when you were a postman, was it a sort of mark of professionalism to always wear shorts, no matter what the weather?
No, not in those.
No. This was Christmas post we did, so that would have been crazy.
But also, now Mark and I talk about this a lot. You see, because we're fathers of our generation did not wear shorts because they associated the wearing of shorts with being in the Western desert, getting shot at by Germans. Whereas it's only latterly that grown-up men wear shorts. They never used to in the 50s and 60s. Didn't happen at all. So the postman wearing shorts is quite a recent thing, I think.
Oh, I see. Oh, I just thought maybe it was a kind of like a sort of a badge that everybody had, who like a handshake.
No, I think it probably is nowadays. They wear shorts in all weathers. They're very hardy creatures nowadays.
Trying to show how hard they are.
I don't think I don't think they used to be. So, Charlie, here's your opportunity to plug your latest album. Have you got it there?
Yes, I do, actually.
Wave it at the camera.
I will wave it at the camera.
And how
can
strange
find
it
it.
was, can I say, that both you and Randy Newman had records that came out in 2017 with the same title, didn't you? Dark Matter. Only about 2 months
yes,
apart. You were first, and then about 3 months later. Yeah, 3 months later, he nicked your idea and had an album called Dark Matter too. Extraordinary.
Yes, thank you for pointing out mine came out first, because a lot of people said afterwards, "Oh, I like Randy Newman," and I said, "No, I bet no one's saying to him, oh, I like Charlie Dore."
No, well, you never know. You never know. They might have done. So what have you got there? Go on.
This is album number 10.
Yeah, which is called
Like Animals.
Like Animals. At your local,
Great cover. Beautiful.
At your local shop.
Yes,
and
there's a
available
picture for you, because its basic theme is that we are very much still animals. Well,
Right.
however sophisticated we pretend to be.
Yeah, okay. Particularly at this moment in time. So, what's the greatest record ever made, Charlie, as far as you're concerned? This is the question we're asking people in our survey. What's the greatest record ever made? Now's your opportunity to inflict your taste on the nation, or at least this part of it.
Well, I just have one question, which is, it's an album. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Absolutely
That's fine. Do an
fine. No,
album, do a
completely
single,
legit.
doesn't matter.
Okay.
All comers welcome.
Oh, it's a good
gosh,
choice.
the Garrigles. That's a
It's a
fantastic
good choice.
record.
It's a very good choice.
Oh.
It's the
Has
first.
that got Heart Like a Wheel on it?
It has.
yes,
it has.
yes, it's got.
Which is one of the greatest songs ever written.
Oh, don't moderate
Absolutely.
it, Mark. You always say it's the greatest love song.
Actually, I
ever.
do. It is the
You know,
greatest
you never
song.
say one of. You always say the greatest.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just it had a huge influence on me. I'd never heard. What I loved about it was that it was so various. You know what I mean? There was so much different stuff on it. You know, they weren't just playing with official folk instruments as such. You know, there was clarinet in there. You know, and trumpet and all sorts of. You know what I mean? They were really. It was produced by Joe Boyd.
Joe Boyd.
Yeah.
Who obviously you know.
Who worked on your first album? That's right. Yeah.
Yes, he did. He did a remix in one of the many, but there were just so many, and I learnt to play My Town, which is one of the tracks on here. That doesn't really get much play, but I was just, and the person who introduced me to this was Ralph McTell.
Oh, of course, right.
And he it was just, it really chimed with me, and it was a great sadness, obviously, when Kate died, because one of my secret ambitions was that I could sing backing vocals for them. Right. At some charity thing or something, you know what I mean? That I could be in that sort of, amongst that harmony thing, which is so special to them. They probably would have kicked me off the stage, but I just thought they were, and it's a wonderful album, and they wrote lots of wonderful songs.
They did.
You know,
They made great albums for years and years and years.
Incredible songs.
Really good stuff.
Like nobody else. So original.
But none better than that one. So that's.
I agree.
But you've done well, Charlie. There, you've not embarrassed yourself at all by declaring that the greatest record ever made. That's it's perfectly arguable. Throw that
Seal
in.
of approval.
Yes, listen. It's been really nice to talk to you. What are you looking forward to doing when this is all over? When this bloody war is over?
Well, gigs, but gigs when, I mean, I guess we'll have to be very sensible and careful for a long time. I very much want to play, but I very much want to, as somebody else has often said, I suppose, in recent times, I want to play live, but I want to be alive, you know. And I'm not that ambitious that I'll make the final sacrifice and die in the process.
That's right. Everyone says, I'd like a drink, but I'm not dying for a pint. You know, you've got to get your proportions right.
Yes. So I hope there can be some way that a lot of the little venues that I play, that they can be kept afloat you know, by funds, and that all the funds don't go to the big venues, which obviously make loads of money. But you know, it's a really
very difficult.
important thing. Yeah.
Thank you very much for
Very
your
good to talk to you.
time.
Oh, it's lovely to see you again.
Fantastic. Great to see you.
Have a nice day. Get out in your garden.
Yes, actually, there's as you can see, there's quite a lot to do.